Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm Mr. Charles, Bella House Assistant Dean, and also the Diversity Awareness Advisor for the Diversity Awareness Club at Greenwich High School. Welcome to day one, our very first presentation, and what a wonderful presentation we have. We have a panel discussion, and our focus this morning, it's on the global disruption to education. So we have along with us two individuals in particular, Ms. Van Els, who will be moderating the presentation this morning. And we have Ronald Nwaka from Zimbabwe. He's also one of the teachers, and he has been instrumental in making these connections with us. So I will shift gear now and pass over the mic, literally, to Ms. Van Els, who will introduce our panel and give us some more information about the proceedings for this morning's presentation.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Charles. Welcome, everybody. Again, thank you to Mr. Charles, to students from Greenwich High School, and to students from Harare, Zimbabwe. I know the students in Harare, you've already had a long school day, and here you are talking to us again. So special shout out to you guys for joining in the evening at dinner time for our discussion. My name is Paula Van Els, and I work for Level Up Village. Level Up Village generally brings together students to run courses together, students from around the world, generally STEM courses. And lately we've been running some discussions like these, which are really important so that you can all get an understanding of how students are impacted across the world with something like the coronavirus pandemic. So we have this discussion planned for today. The teacher in Zimbabwe, Mr. Nyamukua, has brought together some students that he's worked with through the years, and we're going to have a great conversation. So I'm going to pass it over. First, actually, I'm going to pass it to Haley, who said she prepared. Haley, you mentioned that you were going to say a word about the Diversity Club.
Oh yeah, I just had written like an introduction just to thank everyone who is here today to come be a part of this presentation. The Diversity Club is really happy to be a part of it. So we just, like you mentioned, wanted to thank the Level Up Village program, as you said, who specializes in connecting students from around the globe to promote learning and global citizenship. We're just very thankful for them and the students from Zimbabwe who came today to help us discuss this presentation.
Great. Thank you, Haley. All right, I'm going to pass it over to Mr. Nyamukua, and then each of you will have an opportunity to introduce yourselves. And again, one student from each side is going to describe for us where you live, where you come from, what your school is like. Okay, that'd be great. All right, so over to you, Ronald.
Thank you, Paula. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me loud and clear? All right. As Paula mentioned, I'm Ronald, and from Zimbabwe, and I have a few students with me here. I've got Ethan and Tanya, and I also have Noma. Ethan, would you mind just introducing yourself and say hi and say hello to everyone? Then followed by Tanya, then Noma.
Okay, Ron. My name is Ethan Savado. I currently live in Zimbabwe. I'm aged 16 years old, and I'm currently schooling at Prince Edward High School.
Thank you, Ethan. Tanya, would you mind coming?
Hello, everyone. I'm Tanya Bundire. I'm 16 years old, and I go to school at Chisipiti Senior School. Yeah.
If y'all could tell us, like, what's your favorite subject in school? What's your favorite subject and like your favorite non-school activity? Maybe go back to Ethan for a sec and then on to Tanya.
Well, my favorite subject would be geography, and my outside school activity would be swimming. I really love swimming.
Great, thank you. How about you, Tanya?
My favorite subject is literature, and I really like playing basketball and just taking walks.
Great, thank you. Ronald, I'll let you keep calling on students.
All right. Thank you very much, Ethan and Tanya. Can we also have Noma? Can you introduce yourself and tell us about your favorite subjects and favorite activities?
Hi, my name is Norma. I'm a 12-year-old girl and I go to school at Chinwad High. My favorite subject is possibly maths and I like singing and playing netball.
Thank you, Noma. I think that's it about us. And oh, Edward just joined. Hi, Edward. Hello, Edward.
Hello?
Hi, Edward.
Hello? Hello?
Thanks for joining. Would you
Sorry.
mind introducing yourself to the platform and also telling us your favorite sports and activities and subjects in school?
Okay, that's fine. Well, my name is Edward Joseph Evans. I learn at Prince Edward High School in Harare, Zimbabwe. Well, I like a lot of sports, but I'm mainly focused on rugby. Rugby is my favorite sport. And you said what else? Sorry.
Your favorite subjects?
Favorite subjects. Well, for A level, I wouldn't mind choosing maths, biology, and chemistry. Yes.
All right. And your favorite activities in your spare time?
In my spare time, uh, just solving equations and stuff like that, and playing sport as well. I really enjoy rugby. Yeah.
Interesting. All right, Paula. That's it from Team Zimbabwe.
Thank you very
Great.
much.
All right, great. Then if we move over to the Greenwich side, let me see. Haley, you could just introduce yourself and again, favorite subject, favorite non-academic activity.
Well, I'm Haley Judas. I'm currently a senior at GHS. Something school related is I've been on the varsity cheer team for 4 years. My favorite subject has to be chemistry. I really love that. And outside of cheer and school, I love to work out. That's something I really enjoy doing.
Great. How about Junior?
Hello, my name is Junior LaForest. My favorite subject in school would have to be history. I'm like a history buff. Outside of school, though, my favorite activities are just sports in general. I'm a very athletic person, so any sport you throw at me, rugby, basketball, anything, I excel at.
Great. Thank you. Catherine?
Hey guys, I'm Catherine. I am a senior as well, and I'm 17 years old. I really like math, but only when I understand it. When I struggle, I tend to have a hard time and not really enjoy it that much. But I also really like music. I play a bunch of instruments, and I also do theater at the high school. So yeah.
Great. Thanks, Catherine. How about Priya?
Hi, my name is Priya Patel. I'm a junior at GHS, and my favorite subject would probably be math. And my favorite non-school activity would probably be hanging out with my friends or baking.
Everyone's baking during the pandemic. Tatya?
Hi, my name is Tatia. I'm a junior at GHS. My favorite subject, probably psychology, and my favorite activity is painting.
Great. Just to help the students in Zimbabwe for a sec, I don't know if you use the same designations, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, but junior is the next to last year of secondary school and senior is the last year of secondary school. So those are just the words we use to describe that. I think you guys have different names for those. So great. I know that two of you, one from Zimbabwe and one from Greenwich, were asked to, again, just do a little description to introduce your town, your school, your part of America to the other side. So who on the Greenwich side was asked to do that? Catherine, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. So I kind of prepared our country, state, and district, how specifically within COVID and kind of how everything was affected there. So I'll kind of give you a rundown of what really happened. So as of 2019, it was reported that we have a population of 328.2 million people in the United States. And of those 328.2 million people, 28.1 million of them tested positive for COVID over the entire span of the pandemic, beginning in January of 2020. And sadly, 500,000 of those people passed away because of the virus. Different states like California, Texas, Florida, New York, and Illinois have reported the most positive cases, and those have kind of been the COVID hotspots in our country. This has led to shutdowns of local businesses, schools, just to enforce people to stay at home. What's interesting about how America kind of handled the pandemic is we kind of did it by state. So each state regulated what shut down. So specifically for Connecticut, where we live, on March 23rd, 2020, our governor, Ned Lamont, signed an executive order to shut down all non-essential businesses. So basically everything was shut down except for essential food services, law enforcement, and any like similar critical services. So basically we were all shut down, no more school, all sent home as of March. That was because we had a total of 273,000 cases and 7,525 deaths over the span of the pandemic. Fairfield County, our county, being the highest number of reported cases. So over this summer, we started to open up back up a little bit. We started having outdoor restaurants opening up, recreational activities kind of began again. As for schooling this fall, we have been back in person, hybrid though, for our high school. For the elementary and middle schools, they've been going in fully. But for the high school, half of the student body goes in on Mondays and Tuesdays. On Wednesdays, everybody's at home. And then on Thursdays and Fridays, the other half of the student body goes in. Also, students can elect to go fully remote, which means they attend school online through their computers every day of the week. So yeah, and recently we've had vaccinations being administered. So since December 14th, we've had 52 million vaccination doses. And so that reaches about 11.5% of the US population. I'm throwing so many numbers at you. I'm really sorry about that one. Yeah, so as of February 4th, we had Connecticut residents over the age of 75 and older getting vaccinated as well. I'm sorry, that was a lot about Corona. There you go. That's kind of the rundown.
That was really helpful, Catherine. Thank you. Anyone else from Greenwich have something to add that you think that would be useful for the students in Zimbabwe to understand about how the pandemic has disrupted life and particularly school in the US? It was complete? Cool. All right. Who on the Zimbabwe side can give us a description of Zimbabwe and Harare and school life since the beginning of the pandemic?
All right, I'll call upon Ethan.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
So basically in Zimbabwe, I live in Harare. So in Zimbabwe, COVID really has affected us badly. Well, generally from last year, we didn't have much cases, but then as time followed up this year, our cases increased, which we had about 35,796 cases, and deaths we had about 1,436, and recoveries 32,124. That's in Zimbabwe. And basically on our educational side, currently we on lockdown and we haven't been doing school that much. Like most public schools don't have the resources or supplies to provide online schooling, and then there's some schools that are providing online schooling. Zimbabwe, basically, our economy is badly affected by this, as our economy is really going down, and it's really affected some students in that since they don't have online, exams are coming up soon, so they wouldn't be prepared for the exams or ready for that time when the exams come. And basically our lockdown restriction should fall after 2 weeks, but as we talking, I believe there's vaccines that have come in, and we should be receiving vaccines when we open schools. And yeah.
Great, Ethan.
Thank you, Ethan.
Great.
All right. Norma, would you like to say something? And then we have Edward last.
I would like to say things here have been pretty tough sometimes. I mean, we now do our schoolwork online and write our tests at home so that we don't catch the COVID. And sometimes we even have network problems and we do Zoom instead of going to our classrooms or school.
Thank you, Noma. There's one other person you wanted to say a word, Ronald?
Hello, Miss Paula.
Hi, Edward.
Fine, thanks. How are you? Well, I would just like to talk about how coronavirus has affected the people who are going to work, the several restrictions that we have received in terms of the lockdowns and the curfews and all of that. About 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, they enforced a lockdown of the curfew from 6 to 6. So it was quite tense, especially for us who were going to write exams. I'm finished my exams, luckily. But even transport was hard to get, transport. And a lot of people who were going to work, actually now, they weren't going to work except for the people in the essential services, like doctors, nurses, government officials, and just these major organizations which generate money for the government. Those are the only people who are going to work. So you'd actually see a lot of people now resorting to start their own companies, or should I say, entrepreneurial work where they like sell tomatoes or potatoes or just something to find income, including the school kids who are less fortunate. Like at least some of us, we can go to school online, but there are challenges that they couldn't go to school online and because of poverty and all of that. But otherwise, now at least the curfew has been lifted until 8 p.m. But the lockdown is still there. Our cases, like Ethan mentioned, are not as bad. So concerning the vaccine, they have imported some vaccines first for those above the age of 18, those who don't have underlying conditions like, for example, diabetes and all of that. And they also encourage like pregnant mothers to not to take that vaccine because of the fetus in the womb. But anyways, that's about all I have for now. Yes, thank you very much.
Thanks, Edward. I have questions here that I can ask. I can ask you all in general to continue the conversation, but I want to pause for a minute to ask you guys if you have any questions for each other about anything that was described from either group of students. So is there something that you heard that you would like clarification on or more detail on?
Paula, I just want to just ask for the teachers who are listening in, with their classes, and if they can have teachers, you can definitely have your students, write their questions for the team in that form that was sent out. So please feel free to share your questions too, which we will address coming to the end of the presentation.
Great, thanks, Mr. Charles. All right, then I would ask, I'm going to ask a student from Zimbabwe to describe what a typical day looked like before the pandemic. What, a typical, let's say, a school day. What did a typical school day look like? So maybe, Tanya, would you be able to describe that for everybody?
Sure. So before the pandemic, we would wake up in the morning at around 7 for school, and then be at school from 7 till like 1, and then we have lunch, and then sometimes we have afternoon school and sometimes we don't. So if we have afternoon school, we finish at around 3. And then from 3 onwards, we just have after school activities like your sports, your swimming, your basketball, etc. Then you get home at around 6 or 5. And then we just have dinner, do homework, study, and then go to bed. Go to bed at around, well, I would say it depends on the amount of work and homework you have. So, yeah.
That sounds really familiar. It sounds like quite a typical day, but it's been a long time since I've been in high school. So I'll let somebody from the Greenwich side describe. Go ahead, Haley.
So looking through an athletic aspect, especially, I'll start at the basic day and then I can add that in as well. But I would wake up very early. I'd wake up at like 6:30 in the morning, get ready, and drive to school super early. And our school day would start at 8:30, and we'd have lunch in the cafeteria we didn't need masks. We could all hang out with whoever we wanted. People who could drive and had parking could leave and go to town to like Starbucks or just get something to eat or order Uber Eats even and have some food at the school. And we would just have our regular opens. My favorite place to sit in was the media center. I'd always sit in there with my friends, and I'm full remote now, but I remember I wasn't before. But now it's like only 2 people per table, and we used to all group up like 10 people at a table and just like sit and study. And then our school day would end at 3:15, but for seniors, it would end at 2:45 and they could leave. And I used to have practice like right after school, and gym C, we have like our gym is like split into 3 sections, is where like the cheerleaders would practice. We call that like our home because we've been practicing there for years. But with COVID restrictions now, our season basically got cut, and because it was a high-risk sport. But we're very thankful that the state just announced that we can come back again under severe restrictions. But I'm very thankful, especially since this is now my senior year, that I can still be with my team and my family and we can practice. But before, we were able to do everything, and we could practice for hours in the gym without mask on. And now we have to stay distant, and it's very tough now with all these COVID restrictions.
Yeah. Junior, you said you do a lot of sports. Have any of the sports you do been able to continue like with mask or modified in some way, like you're together but you're 6 feet apart? Any sports at all that you've been able to carry on with?
My main sport is track. I love just the feeling of just running and the air rushing past you. But for last year, it was just cut. Literally, we couldn't even start it. We just didn't have it, even though it wasn't like a high risk sport. It was just taken away from us just like indefinitely. And for this year, I'm pretty sure, because we're literally in track, you're not like touching or anything. I'm pretty sure it's still on for this year. So that's what I'm happy about. At least that's a sport that I really enjoy. So that's one thing that hasn't been taken away from me during COVID. So that's one thing that I'm like really thankful for. So yeah.
Great, thank you. Anyone on the Zimbabwe side been able to carry on with sports-like activities at all? I know you had the curfew, but I was wondering if anyone found any creative ways online or in some other manner to keep participating.
Well, sorry, Edward speaking. Yes, well, at our school, we actually doing some challenges online, just cause we can't meet at school. So on our rugby team, we actually post sometimes videos of us doing drills, and they actually get to vote who's the best and all of that. Yeah, that's how we've managed to keep up with the sports.
That's really awesome, actually. That's a good workaround to, again, sort of challenge each other online. What about other activities? Like, again, some people said they were involved in theater and music and that kind of stuff. What sort of creative ways have you found to carry on? Catherine?
Hi, sorry. For theater specifically, in the fall we did outdoor performances, socially distant and with masks on, which was really great just to be able to be with everyone. But since there was a peak or a spike in COVID cases around the fall, that was quickly cut off, and we've been doing online rehearsals and performances as well. A lot of creative content, which is fun. We've been writing our own pieces and being able to perform them with our students. It's been really weird accommodating with the online rehearsal aspect, but it's something that we've all learned to adjust to, which is really interesting, and just kind of learning how to operate on a new normal.
Yeah, exactly. How about in Zimbabwe, any sort of arts and theater, music, any of that kind of stuff carrying on virtually?
Yes, I know at my school we are carrying on with Glee and choir and stuff virtually. Like we'll be calling on Microsoft Teams and sending in our videos and stuff.
Great, awesome. How about your social life? So, I personally remember, in the first few months of the pandemic, I lived next to a school, and some students would come and sit in the parking lot, 6 feet apart, and get together in person that way. Of course, for the students in Zimbabwe, you should know that Connecticut and the northeast of America right now is frigid and covered in about a foot of snow. So there's no chance to sit in the parking lot really and chat with your friends. So obviously no one's getting together in that way. But how about in Zimbabwe? Which ways have you found to stay connected to friends and maybe family that you don't live with? Are you turning to social media, or just plain old phone calls, or how are you doing that? Maybe I'll pick on someone. How about Nadine? I don't know if Nadine could hear me. So how about Ethan? How are you staying connected socially to your friends?
Oh, well, basically, where I currently live, well, with my friends, usually social media, talk to them on social media, sometimes video call, sometimes we just chat. Yeah, and maybe like my friends near my neighborhood, maybe sometimes we can come out, but usually it's social distance, wearing a mask. Yeah.
So you say you can visit with people socially distanced. So like what's the weather there like? Like could you go for a walk with a friend if you wanted to?
Tanya, would you like
Yeah, I could go for a walk.
tell us about this? I know you love walks.
So I'm lucky enough to have a few friends of mine stay in my neighborhood. So today even I just came back from a walk and came on to the meeting. I walk with my friends, but it's not the same as in like where we can run and hug each other and like, oh my gosh, let's catch up with. We just have to be, control ourselves and be mature about it and just keep our distance and still take walks and stuff.
Yeah, great. How about some of the challenges? Well, let me stay on the positive side. What are some of the upside things of having all this time in confinement? I say it like that, but I've had some conversations with other students from Zimbabwe and Mexico and another school in the U.S. who talked about reading and music and being able to teach themselves some new things. So, what are some things that you sort of like globbed onto during the pandemic when you realized you were in for the long haul that you don't think you would have done or been able to do if things hadn't changed so radically during this time? So does someone have something to share about like something they did? Priya?
So like before pre-pandemic, I think like I would get so overwhelmed with like schoolwork and like having like a test at least like every week. But like after turning to asynchronous, which means like we would only do schoolwork and we didn't have like calls and we would just submit work and we would be done with school. I do think that I learned how to use my time effectively and I learned how to not like procrastinate as much.
Great. Junior, did you have something to add to that too?
Well, usually, more specifically speaking to the end of last year, because we weren't really on calls as often. I'm currently working and was currently working on a book, so it was like I was able to like I guess use my creativity more and not just be on a meet the whole time or in school the whole time, just there and just being tired at the end of the day and not being able to work on some of the stuff that I'm passionate about outside of school. So that's one of the things that I found that was really cool. And I'm still able to do that currently because I'm part of a literary magazine at school and we're able to go around some of the COVID things through using Google Meets and stuff like that. So that's one thing.
Great. Write a book during the pandemic. That's great. Is there someone from Zimbabwe who again has a story to tell about something they accomplished or something they really got into that they wouldn't have been able to do?
Well, I can say something. Well, during my school days, my schedule was really packed, so I didn't have really much time to find things I love, my passion. So during this time, I really found time to find my passion. Like lately, I've been doing a course on Python, and I find it really interesting. I put myself in music, playing the guitar. I'm learning a bit of piano. Basically running. I'm learning how to run, and I'm a bit by the moment. And it just gave me time to realize how much I've been missing my passions. Yeah.
Great. I've heard other students say they spend a lot of time playing Among Us and stuff like that. Raise your hand if that's also been a feature of your pandemic life. Tanya Jr. That's funny. See, people from both sides. You're playing Among Us. I guess that's, what you can do with your extra time. So, all right, great. I think we can take a question here from the spreadsheet. Julian's asking, for students in Zimbabwe, do you think the lockdown in Zimbabwe has helped lower the amount of COVID cases, and do you think it is worth it? So I know you are all under a severe, fairly strict lockdown, again, with your curfews and not being able to go to school in person, even partially. So do you feel, or do you know for a fact that that's actually helped lower COVID cases in your country? Who would like to answer that? Or I'll let Ronald pick on someone.
Okay, Noma, would you like to answer that one?
Personally, I think that it has helped a little bit, but I'm not so sure with all the other cities in Zimbabwe, but in Harare and my family, it's been working very well.
Great. Yeah, I don't know if you guys know what the statistics are for Zimbabwe. The one I heard this morning for the US is kind of sad. It's actually 1 in 670 people will have died of COVID. That's where we're at with deaths relative to our population. So, we don't know what it would have been without the measures, but that's where we are. Someone's asking about access to masks in Zimbabwe and compliance. So do you have access to all the masks that you need, and do people wear them? Do people wear them regularly, and do you use disposable ones or washable ones?
I could answer that, yes.
Thanks, Edward.
Well, I would say that yeah, personally I use disposable ones, but because unlike other countries which distribute them like on the sidewalk or on the street, we actually have to buy them like in a package, like if you do have the money. And they're actually quite expensive. The other day I was checking like the KN95 ones. I'm not sure if you're familiar. They're like $25 for like a 50 pack, which is quite,
wow.
Yeah. And people are using like the cloth masks and all of that, which I doubt are really helping. But even like I myself, the other day I was forced to use public transport due to several but I discovered that a lot of people are being complacent and relaxed about it. Like in higher densities, they actually take off their masks. You don't really see anyone taking the precautions necessary.
That's interesting. Would someone from Greenwich like to describe what it's like in the US in general in terms of mask wearing and attitudes towards mask wearing? Again, it's not uniform across our country, but I'll let someone else describe it if they would like to. Catherine?
I think you said it well. It's not uniform. I think it depends on where you are, who you're surrounded by. I think mask wearing is it's definitely, people are compliant. I mean, the social circle I'm in, and I mean, like mainly in Greenwich, people are quite compliant. But I know that there are groups of people and areas in the country where a lot of people don't like wearing masks, and it's kind of more of a political stance rather than a health stance. So mask wearing is kind of turned into more of a political argument rather than just a general public safety thing. So that's been a big debate going on in our country recently too.
Is mask wearing the least bit political in Zimbabwe that you know of? Can you tell? Is it more like is it about attitude, or is it more about just sort of again people choosing to comply or not?
Okay, so here, hi guys, I'm Nathan, by the way. So here in Zim, it's not political, and it's more about the attitude of people, as Edward said. If you go to the higher densities, you find that people are not wearing masks. But then if you come this side to the lower densities and the middle densities, people will wear masks because people decide are dying, unlike in the lower densities. They'll ask you who's dying and what's killing them. If they die of corona, they'll find another thing which killed them, which isn't that. So they'll just give you reasons why they don't want to wear their masks. Of which there will be their masks. They'll be half worn. They won't be worn. Let's just say they can be in their hands, but then they will tell you that the fact that their mask is with them, they aren't going to wear it.
Yeah, interesting. Thanks, Nadine.
Hi, Paula.
All right. Hey, Ronald.
Hi, Paula. I think it's also a thin line. It's also a thin line between poverty and the pandemic, because most people nowadays are living on a day-to-day basis. So at times you are working in an environment where you really can't keep your mask on. Maybe it's hard labor and you can hardly breathe with it. So at times you tend to get tired of wearing it. And because probably you haven't literally been directly affected, you kind of get complacent with it. So that's also part of the reasons why some people are failing to actually adapt to wearing masks. And unless a police officer walks across and says, because you can go to jail for it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I take on board that again. It's sometimes like impossible in certain jobs probably to keep your mask on and to do the job. And again, people will take the attitude in all parts of the world. Well, you're gonna die of something. It's really tough. So, like you said, for some people, it might be deciding to wear the mask or not might be the least of their problems on that given day where they're trying to get through the day. So, yep. All right. What other questions? Again, I'm looking back at the question sheet here. This is less about the pandemic. It's more a general question for a student in Zimbabwe. How is America seen in Zimbabwe? Again, people are, there's probably not just one way, but what are some things that students in Zimbabwe think about? How do they perceive America?
I'd like to answer that.
Sure.
Okay.
Thanks,
So
Nadine.
I think it's more of where you come from. Like it also has that thing of where you come from, what's your background and all that. So as for my side, we see America as a place of achieving your goals. Then others would see America as a place for to be an actor. And as for us, we see America as a place where we're going to go there, work as chefs and all that. And others will see it as a place of going to watch movies, going to see celebrities. So it depends on where you came from exactly. Because I'll say as for myself, my dad working for the States, I know that if I go there, I'll probably go do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 things, and not go to Hollywood to see the actors, the reality stars and the musicians and all that. Yeah.
Great. So yeah, I imagine it's influenced by like movies and TV and stuff like that. Interesting. All right.
Could I answer that as well?
Yes, please, Edward.
Sorry, it just came to mind, like our history teacher is always stressing to say, you guys, you must come to me, come to my office, register for SATs. If you get a high score, then you can get a scholarship and all of that. So personally, I would look at it as a place of opportunity because here there are a lot of graduates, schooled people, learned people who are sitting at home because of unemployment. Yeah, and for me, it is the place to be, but Zimbabwe is home, yes.
Yep. No, understood. What about students in GHS? You know, did you do some research ahead of this discussion to learn a little bit about Zimbabwe and like what your impressions were? What when you think of some people might think of the things we see on TV too. It's like large animals and Victoria Falls. But did you have any other sort of notions of Zimbabwe before this discussion, Junior?
Personally, for most of what I know about Zimbabwe is from like school, like projects and stuff like that. So it's all about just social issues and things like that. But like more towards like culture and stuff, I'm not very versed in with Zimbabwe or a lot of that area. So that's one thing that I kind of wanted to learn about when by doing this panel and just learning about points of view and stuff like that. And that's one of the reasons why I want to travel as well after the pandemic is whatever happens after that. I feel like Zimbabwe would be a place that I'd really want to explore and go to because it does seem like a very culturally rich place.
I agree. Me too. I'd like to go. Great. We are coming up on time, and I am ever so grateful for all of you for sharing everything that you shared today and for participating in this conversation. And again, I hope we can keep it going. We're going to be talking the rest of this week with students who participated in the coding class on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, we actually have a pair of young professionals from Rwanda who are going to talk to us about their experiences in Rwanda and then doing university in the US and returning to Rwanda. So we have 2 more presentations coming to you from Level Up Village this week, and I hope you'll participate in those. So if Mr. Charles is online, I'll let him have the last word, but I'm not sure. He may be in another meeting. He's still muted. So I won't sit here and stare into the camera. I'll let you all go. And again, I thank you very, very much to both students in Greenwich and in Zimbabwe. All right. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Paula.